A little boy wants his toy, so he walks up to his mother and says, "Mom, give me my toy." His mother responds by saying, "What are the magic words?" So the little boy says the magic words, and his mom gives him his toy. The next day, the little boy starts kindergarten. At snack time, the little boy wants some juice, so he walks up to his teacher and asks for a juice box. The teacher says, "What are the magic words?" So the little boy says the magic words, but the teacher gets upset and calls the little boy's mother and asks her to come in. When the three of them are sitting in the room together, the teacher asks the mother, "Have you been teaching your son sarcasm?" "No," the mother says. "Why? What did he do?" "Well, he asked for a juice box," said the teacher, "and I asked him to say the magic words, and instead of saying please, he said, 'You're thin and you're beautiful.'" Two aunts had an arrangement to meet every winter in Miami for a vacation. Last year, when one aunt got to Miami, he was shivering and shaking. The other aunt asked him, "Why are you shaking so badly?" The first aunt says, "I rode down here from New Jersey in the mustache of a guy on a Harley." The other aunt says, "That's the worst way to travel. Do what I do. Go to the New Jersey airport bar, have a few drinks. While there, look for a nice stewardess, crawl up her leg, and nestle in where it's warm and cozy. It's the best way to travel that I can think of." The first aunt thanks the second aunt and says he will give it a try next winter. A year goes by. When the first aunt shows up in Miami, he's shivering and shaking again. The second aunt says, "Didn't you try what I told you?" "Yes," says the first aunt, "I did exactly what you said. I went to the New Jersey airport bar, I had a few drinks. Finally, this nice young stewardess came in. I crawled right up to her warm, cozy spot. It was so nice and warm that I fell asleep. When I woke up, I was back in the mustache of a guy on a Harley." A farmer wants to grow his plants in the winter. He believes that he can maintain the vegetables if they have enough room to grow deep roots, so he puts them in the shower. A month goes by and no produce has popped up. The farmer realizes that some plants take 2 or 3 months to bloom. A second month goes by, and so does the third. The farmer remains patient. At the end of the 4th long month of winter, the farmer is confused and disappointed. He thinks to himself how he provided the plants with adequate room to grow, appropriate amounts of water, and adequate light through the lamps he has bought. Frustrated, he turns to the plants and asks why they did not grow. To his surprise, a voice responds, "Well, what did you expect? I'm a shower, not a grower." 3 new fathers, an Englishman, a Welshman, and an Indian, are looking at their newborn babies' cribs in the hospital. All 3 babies are side by side, and the fathers are congratulating each other on their new arrivals. Just then, a nurse enters the room, looking quite flustered. "I'm sorry," says the nurse, "but we've lost the paperwork and can't tell you whose baby is whose." The 3 fathers look at each other and agree that the only possible solution to avoid embarrassing the hospital is to just choose a baby, take it home, and make sure it is loved as any child should be. The Englishman steps forward and exclaims, "I would like to choose first." The other 2 fathers roll their eyes but agree. The Englishman walks to the 3 babies and, without any hesitation, picks up what is quite obviously the Indian man's child. As the Englishman goes to leave, he catches the eye of the Indian and says, "Sorry, mate, but one of those 2 babies back there is Welsh, and I can't take that risk." This blonde decides one day that she is sick and tired of all these blonde jokes and how all blondes are perceived as stupid, so she decides to show her husband that blondes really are smart. While her husband is off at work, she decides that she is going to paint a couple of rooms in the house. The next day, right after her husband leaves for work, she gets down to the task at hand. Her husband arrives home at 5:30 and smells the distinctive smell of paint. He walks into the living room and finds his wife lying on the floor in a pool of sweat. He notices that she is wearing a ski jacket and a fur coat at the same time. He asks her if she is okay. She replies yes. He asks what she is doing. She replies that she wanted to prove to him that not all blonde women are dumb, and she wanted to do it by painting the house. He then asks her why she has a ski jacket over her fur coat. She replies that she was reading the directions on the paint can, and they said, for best results, put on 2 coats. A woman wanted to know how her husband would react if she left him. She wrote him a letter saying she is tired of him and didn't want to live with him anymore. She put it on the table in the bedroom and then climbed under the bed to hide until her husband got home. When he eventually came back home, he saw the letter on the table and read it. After a few moments of silence, he picked up the pen and added something to the letter. Then he started to get changed, whistling happy tunes and singing and dancing while he did so. He grabbed his phone and dialed a number. His wife listened from under the bed as he started chatting to someone. "Hey babe, I'm just changing clothes and then I'll join you," he said. As for the other fool, it finally dawned on her that I was fooling around on her and she left. I was really wrong to have married her. I wish you and I had met earlier. See you soon, honey. Then he hung up and walked out of the room. Heartbroken, she climbed out from under the bed and stumbled over to read what her unfaithful husband had written on the end of her letter. Through teary eyes, she read, "I could see your feet, you idiot. I'm going out to buy bread." A monkey is sitting in a tree, smoking a joint, when a lizard walks past. The lizard looks up and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" The monkey says, "Smoking a joint. Come up and join me." So the lizard climbs up and sits next to the monkey, and they have another joint. After a while, the lizard says his mouth is dry and that he's going to get a drink from the river. At the riverbank, the lizard is so stoned that he leans over too far and falls in. A crocodile sees this and swims over to the stoned lizard, helping him to the side. He then asks the lizard, "What's the matter with you?" The lizard explains that he was up in the tree smoking a joint with the monkey and his mouth got dry, and that he was so wasted that when he went to get a drink from the river, he fell in. The inquisitive crocodile says he has to check this out. He walks into the jungle and finds the tree where the monkey is sitting, finishing a joint. He looks up and says, "Hey, monkey." The monkey looks down and says, "OMG, dude, how much water did you drink?" An elderly woman was very ill and in the hospital. Her daughter was constantly by her bedside, but when she had to go to work, she called her husband and made him promise he would visit his mother-in-law while she was away. When she came home after work, she asked her husband, very worried, "So, how's my mom doing?" "She's great," he replied. "She will be released from the hospital any day now and will move in with us when she's released and go on to live for many, many years." "Wow, that's amazing," says the wife, but also very strange. "Before I left the hospital, she seemed very ill, and the doctors said she may have a few days left. Did she have some kind of a miraculous recovery?" "Well, I don't know about that," replied the husband, "but today the doctor told me that we needed to start preparing for the worst." A very attractive nurse was working a hectic schedule of double shifts all week, so she didn't really have time to do laundry. She had no clean underwear, so she just figured she'd throw on some scrubs and head to work. Her shift that day was a nightmare. She lost 3 elderly patients while she was in the room cleaning. She took a short break to mourn, then headed to care for another, slightly younger patient. As she was walking to his room, she pleaded to God, "Please don't take this one too." She walked into the room and noticed that one of his socks was on the floor. She bent down to pick it up, and all of a sudden, she heard the heart monitor beep loudly and freaked. She looked at him and said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Yes, I'm fine, but I think you should know your scrubs have a hole in them." A despondent young woman who had lost her job and her house had decided to commit suicide. She was walking along a bridge across the harbor, getting the nerve to jump in when a young man saw her. "Don't do it," he called out. He looked at her and realized she was incredibly beautiful. He came closer. "What's wrong?" he asked. The woman told him. "Okay, here's the thing," he said. "I'm a crew member on a ship that leaves for Europe tomorrow morning. How about you come with me on the ship? I'll bring you food and drink." He slid his arm around her. "I keep you happy, you keep me happy." She agreed. After all, there wasn't much else to do. She didn't have family. The man was quite handsome as well. No harm in trying. The next morning, he hid her in one of the lifeboats on the ship with a pillow and a blanket. Every night, he brought her 3 sandwiches and a piece of fruit, and they made love until dawn. One day, about a week after the affair started, the captain was doing his rounds and found her inside one of the lifeboats. "What the hell are you doing here?" She explained what was going on. "I get food and a trip to Europe, and he gets to screw me." "He sure does, sweetheart. This is the Sydney Harbor Ferry." An 80-year-old lady was being interviewed by a local news station because she had just gotten married for the 4th time. The interviewer began to ask her questions about her life, why she has decided to get remarried at 80, and for some information about her new husband. "My husband is a funeral director," she answered. "That's interesting," the reporter replied. The reporter was then curious about her previous 3 husbands and what their professions had been. After a few minutes of reflection, the woman smiled and answered proudly. She explained that in her 20s, she married a banker, in her 40s, a circus ringmaster, a preacher in her 60s, and now, in her 80s, a funeral director. The reporter was unsure how to process her answer, and then asked why she married 4 men with such different lives and career choices. The woman once again smiled and explained, "I married the first for the money, the second for the show, the third to prepare myself, and the 4th to go." A girl asks her boyfriend to come over Friday night and have dinner with her parents. This being a big event, the girl tells her boyfriend that after dinner, she would like to go out and do it for the first time. Well, the boy is ecstatic, but he has never done it before, so he takes a trip to the pharmacist to get some protection. The pharmacist helps the boy for about an hour. He tells the boy everything there is to know about protection and doing it. At the register, the pharmacist asks the boy how many he'd like to buy, a 3-pack, a 10-pack, or a family pack. The boy insists on the family pack because he thinks he will be very busy, it being his first time at all. That night, the boy shows up at the girl's parents' house and meets his girlfriend at the door. "Oh, I'm so excited for you to meet my parents. Come on in." The boy goes inside and is taken to the dinner table where the girl's parents are seated. The boy quickly offers to say grace and bows his head. A minute passes and the boy is still deep in prayer with his head down. 10 minutes pass and still no movement from the boy. Finally, after 20 minutes with his head down, the girlfriend leans over and whispers to her boyfriend, "I had no idea you were so religious." The boy turns and whispers back, "I had no idea your father was a pharmacist." Strolling through London's Soho district on a very windy day, the young lady's dress kept flying up to her waist, exposing all because she didn't have any underwear on. As a gentleman passed by, he nodded to her and said, "Airy, isn't it? What did you expect? Feathers?" A woman seated while flying in economy and holding her baby in her arms was startled when the man behind her bent forward to say, "Ma'am, that is one ugly baby you have there." The woman, wide-eyed and open-mouthed, was so shocked she could barely retort, "Well, I never." The man continued, "I'm just being honest with you, ma'am. I mean, I've seen some ugly babies in my time, but yours is a real showstopper." Quite overwhelmed, the woman called a flight attendant over. "The man behind me just hurled the most hideous insult at me, and I demand to be moved to a different seat," she said. The attendant gave her a consoling look of sympathy. "I'm so sorry, but as you know, our flight is fully booked, and until we find someone willing to switch seats, I'm afraid I won't be able to reseat you. We do apologize, however, and if you like, in the meantime, we'd be happy to offer you anything from our in-flight menu free of charge." "Fine," the woman said with an air of resignation. What a horrible man. "Well, I just said the truth," could be faintly heard from the seat behind. Hearing that, the attendant resolved to make the woman feel better as soon as possible, telling her, "Any item of food or any alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverage, whatever you choose, it's on us," she said. "And if you like, I'll also bring a banana for your comfort monkey." A woman decided to have a facelift for her birthday. She spent $5,000 and felt really good about the results. On her way home, she stopped at a dress shop to look around. As she was leaving, she said to the sales clerk, "I hope you don't mind me asking, but how old do you think I am?" "About 35, he replied. "I'm actually 47, the woman said, feeling really good. After that, she went into McDonald's for lunch and asked the order taker the same question. He replied, "Oh, you look about 29. "I'm actually 47, she said, feeling really good. While standing at the bus stop, she asked an old man the same question. He replied, "I am 85 years old and my eyesight is going. But when I was young, there was a sure way of telling a woman's age. If I put my hand up your skirt, I will be able to tell you your exact age." There was no one around, so the woman said, "What the hell?" and let him slip his hand up her skirt. After feeling around for a while, the old man said, "Okay, you are 47. Stunned, the woman said, "That was brilliant. How did you do that?" The old man replied, "I was behind you in line at McDonald's." A Harley biker is cruising past Taronga Park Zoo in Sydney when he spots a little girl leaning too close to the lion's cage. Suddenly, the lion snatches her by the cuff of her jacket and begins pulling her inside. Her parents scream in horror as they helplessly watch. Without hesitation, the biker dismounts, charges to the cage, and lands a powerful punch right on the lion's nose. Stunned and wincing in pain, the lion releases the girl, who's quickly rescued by the biker and handed back to her grateful, terrified parents. A reporter who has witnessed the whole ordeal approaches the biker and says, "That was incredibly brave and heroic. What you did was remarkable." The biker shrugs and replies, "It was nothing, really. The lion was behind bars. I just saw the girl in danger and did what felt right." The reporter says, "I'm going to make sure the world knows about this. I'm a journalist, and tomorrow's paper will feature this on the front page." "Well, I don't mind, but just out of curiosity, what do you do for a living?" the biker asks. "I'm a journalist, and I'll make sure to highlight this act of courage." The biker nods, not too concerned. The next morning, the biker picks up a copy of the paper, eager to read about his heroic act. He flips to the front page and is shocked to find the headline, "Right-wing deserter assaults an African immigrant and steals his lunch." And that's how the media loves to spin a story these days. Matt and his wife lived in the countryside. Matt was notoriously tight with money and hated spending it. One day, a fair came to the nearby town. "Let's go to the fair, Matt," his wife suggested. "We haven't been out in ages." Matt mulled it over. He knew he'd have to spend money at the fair. After a moment of thought, he finally agreed. "Fine, but I'm not spending much. We'll look around, but we won't buy anything." At the fair, they wandered around looking at all the things for sale. Matt's wife found many things she liked, but Matt wouldn't let her spend a dime. As they walked through the fairgrounds, they spotted an old small airplane in a nearby field. A sign read, "Fun flight, $20 for 10 minutes. Matt had never been in an airplane and he was intrigued, but he didn't want to pay for both of them, so he approached the pilot. "I've only got $20, Matt said. "Is there any chance my wife can come along for free?" The pilot, not selling many tickets, thought for a moment. "I'll make you a deal. If neither of you screams or shouts during the flight, your wife's flight is free." Matt agreed, and he and his wife climbed aboard the small plane. The pilot took off, performing all kinds of stunts, loops, dives, sharp turns, and wild tricks, anything he could do to scare them. But Matt and his wife remained silent the whole time. Finally, the pilot landed and said, "Well, you both held your ground. Your wife's ride is free." Matt smiled and said, "Thanks, it wasn't easy, especially when she fell out." There was a farmer who had a horse and a goat. One day, the horse became seriously ill, so the farmer called the veterinarian. The vet examined the horse and said, "Your horse has a virus. He must take this medicine for 3 days, and I'll come back on the 3rd day, and if he's not better, we'll have to put him down." Nearby, the goat overheard the conversation. On the first day, the farmer gave the horse the medicine and left. The goat approached the horse and said, "Come on, buddy, you gotta get up or they'll put you to sleep." On the second day, the farmer came back, gave the horse the medicine, and left. The goat encouraged the horse again. "You can do this, get up, or they're going to kill you." On the third day, the vet returned, but the horse still wasn't looking much better. "I'm sorry, but we'll have to put him down tomorrow. The virus could spread to the other horses." After the vet left, the goat gave one last rallying cry. "This is it, my friend. You have to get up. You're so close. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. You can do it. Get up. Faster. Come on. Yes, yes, yes. You're a champion." Suddenly, the horse sprang to his feet and began running around the field, full of energy. The farmer came rushing back to the barn, saw the horse running, and shouted, "It's a miracle. My horse is cured. We must have a celebration. Let's cook the goat." A recently divorced woman was strolling along the beach when she noticed an old lamp half buried in the sand. Curious, she picked it up and gave it a rub. To her surprise, a genie appeared. "I am the genie of this lamp," he said. "I will grant you 3 wishes, but there's a catch. Whatever you receive, the person you hate the most will get 10 times the amount. So tell me, who do you hate most?" Without hesitation, the woman answered, "My ex-husband." The genie nodded and asked, "What's your first wish?" "I wish for $1 billion, she said, eyes sparkling. Instantly, piles of cash appeared around her, and she was thrilled. But then the genie added, "Remember, though, your ex-husband now has $10 billion. The woman's excitement faded, and she was visibly frustrated. "All right, my second wish," she said. "I want to live in a mansion with a breathtaking ocean view." Suddenly, a grand mansion appeared right behind her, its beauty taking her breath away. But the genie reminded her, "Don't forget, your ex-husband now owns a mansion 10 times larger and more luxurious." At this point, the woman was beyond furious, but she took a deep breath and paused to think carefully about her final wish. After a long moment, she grinned wickedly and turned to the genie. "I wish," she said, "to give birth to twins." Steve is shopping for a new motorcycle. He finally finds one for a great price. The motorcycle is missing a seal, though, so whenever it rains, Steve has to smear Vaseline over the spot where the seal should be. Steve's girlfriend is having him over for dinner one evening. He drives his new motorcycle to his girlfriend's house. She's waiting outside for him when he arrives. She says, "No matter what happens at dinner tonight, don't say a word. Our family had a fight a while ago about doing the dinner dishes. We haven't done any since, and the first person to speak at dinner has to do them." Steve sits down for dinner and soon notices that his girlfriend wasn't exaggerating. It is just how she described it. Dishes are piled up to the ceiling in the kitchen, and nobody is saying a word. Steve decides to have a little fun. He grabs his girlfriend, throws her onto the table, and has sex with her in front of her parents. His girlfriend is a little flustered, her father is obviously livid, and her mother is a little more pleased. But still, there is complete silence at the table. Suddenly, there's a loud thunder and it starts to rain. Steve remembers his motorcycle outside, so he jumps up and grabs his jar of Vaseline. With a look of terror in his eyes, the girlfriend's father backs away from the table and exclaims, "Okay, enough already. I'll do the damn dishes." An elderly priest, his eyes sparkling with good humor, turned to the younger priest beside him and said, "I must say, your idea to replace the first few pews with plush theater-style seats was inspired. It's remarkable how quickly those seats fill up now." The younger priest chuckled softly and gave a modest nod as the elder priest went on. "And I'll admit, when you suggested giving the hymns a modern twist, I was skeptical, but bringing in that rock and roll gospel choir has truly revitalized the congregation. It's wonderful to see every seat filled, all the way to the balcony." "Thank you, Father," the younger priest replied, his tone humble yet pleased. The elder priest patted him on the shoulder, his expression kind. Your enthusiasm and fresh ideas have been such a blessing to our parish. Truly, most of your innovations have been marvelous." The younger priest detected a hint of hesitation in the older man's voice and braced himself for what was coming. Sure enough, the elder priest continued, "That being said, I think you may have gone a step too far with the drive-through confessional." "But, Father," the young priest exclaimed, leaning forward earnestly, "attendance for confessions has doubled, and our donations are through the roof." The elder priest stroked his chin thoughtfully. "Yes, I've noticed. Your efforts haven't gone unappreciated, believe me. But the flashing neon sign on the roof that says, 'Confess and drive away,' well, let's just say it's a bit much." Imagine you were childhood friends with Liam Gallagher, the lead singer of Oasis. You two grew up together and shared an unbreakable bond like no other friendship. You bonded over many things, but one of your shared hobbies was baseball. You'd play catch, practice your pitches, and even go to pro games together. In high school, both of you tried out for the baseball team and helped carry the team to the championships. It was a fantastic time for both of you. After high school, you both decided to go your separate ways. Liam pursued his musical career, and you followed your own path. There was no guarantee you'd ever see each other again. As a keepsake of your time together, you decided to give Liam the first baseball you two ever played catch with. You threw it over to him, and he caught it, saying, "I'll treasure this forever, and I'll keep in touch." In return, Liam handed you the glove he used. You both shared a heartfelt hug, and Liam took his leave. 5 years later, you hear about a high school reunion coming up. Liam messages you asking if you'll come. Nostalgic for the good old days, you agree to go. On the day of the reunion, you decide to bring Liam's glove, hoping it'll help him recognize you. You arrive at the venue and start looking around for him. Eventually, you spot him running toward you. He stops about 5 feet away, pulls something out of his bag, and smiles. Remember that baseball you threw to him? Well, today is the day. Liam's about to throw it back to you.
The Smiths had been struggling to conceive and decided to use a surrogate father to start their family. On the day the surrogate was due to arrive, Mr. Smith kissed his wife goodbye and said, "Well, I'm off now. The man should be here soon." Half an hour later, by sheer coincidence, a door-to-door baby photographer rang the doorbell, hoping to make a sale. "Good morning," he said. "I've come to—" "Oh, no need to explain," Mrs. Smith cut him off, blushing. "I've been expecting you." "Really?" the photographer replied. "Well, that's great. Did you know babies are my specialty?" "That's exactly what my husband and I had hoped. Please come in and have a seat." After a moment, she shyly asked, "Well, where do we start?" The photographer grinned. "Leave everything to me. I usually start with 2 in the bathtub, 1 on the couch, and sometimes a few on the bed. The living room floor is always fun. Lots of space to work with." Mrs. Smith blushed deeply. "Bathtub? Living room floor? No wonder things didn't work out for Harry and me." The photographer chuckled. "Well, no one can guarantee a perfect shot every time, but if we try a few different positions and I shoot from 6 or 7 angles, I'm sure you'll be pleased with the results." Mrs. Smith gasped. "My, that's quite a lot." "In my line of work," he said with a wink, "a man has to take his time. I'd love to be in and out in 5 minutes, but I'm sure you'd be disappointed with that." "Don't I know it?" Mrs. Smith whispered under her breath. The photographer then opened his briefcase and pulled out a portfolio of baby pictures. "This one was taken on the top of a bus," he said, flipping through the pages. "Oh my God," Mrs. Smith gasped, clutching her throat. "And these twins turned out exceptionally well, considering their mother was so difficult to work with." "Difficult?" Mrs. Smith asked, intrigued. "Yes," he sighed. "I finally had to take her to the park to get the job done right. There were people crowding around, 4 and 5 deep, just to get a good look." 4 and 5 deep? Mrs. Smith's eyes widened with astonishment. "Yes," the photographer nodded, "and it went on for more than 3 hours. The mother was constantly squealing and yelling. I could hardly concentrate, and when it got dark, I had to rush my shots. Then when the squirrels started nibbling on my equipment, I just had to pack it all in." Mrs. Smith leaned forward, now thoroughly curious. Do you mean the squirrels actually chewed on your, equipment? Yes, unfortunately, said the photographer. But enough about that. If you're ready, I'll set up my tripod and we can get started right away. Tripod? Oh, yes, he replied. I need to use a tripod to rest my Canon on. It's much too big to hold in my hands for very long. Mrs. Smith fainted.